Good Thursday morning. I'm KGU11 meteorologist Chris Ramirez. We are tracking the torrential rain that is moving southward into northern Harris County. As of this morning, this is as of 9:30 this morning, the National Weather Service has issued a severe thunderstorm warning that is in place for portions of Chambers, Harris, Liberty, and Montgomery counties. We're seeing quarter-size hail with up to 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts with this particular storm. This does include the city of Humble, Atascocita, areas along portions of even northeast Houston dealing with the impacts from this storm as it continues its more of an easterly track there. So looking at Atascocita, you have Dryersdale, you have Barrett, you have a lot of colors on the map. Probably a little bit confusing, but other than that, we're seeing mostly a lot of lightning with this storm, as well as the additional torrential rain that has been falling in northern Harris County. And we're now starting to see that flooding threat starting to increase for portions of North Houston as this very slow moving storm, it continues its southward progression. So as we look at those flood warnings, areas are all places. If you are traveling along I-45, even I-69 north of the city of Houston is under a flash flood warning. All areas where you see green, we've been dealing with some torrential rain at least for the past several minutes, even the past 30 minutes to an hour for portions of northern Harris County. If I kind of zoom out here, you're able to see that the progression of these storms are now moving southward as we go into the next 30 minutes to an hour. I'm going to go ahead and loop this as we can see what's going to be happening within the next 2 or 3 hours. Unfortunately, it's looking more likely that this slow moving heavy rainfall is likely to move southward into Houston within the next hour or two. So we could be looking at some flooding concerns here in the city of Houston later this morning into the early afternoon hours. And like I said, these are not fast moving storms. These storms are moving very slowly. And when you have a lot of rain that just sits over one area at a time, that usually starts creating that flooding threat and concern as we go into the next few hours. But looking at what we've seen so far within the past few hours, we've seen up to radar estimated 9.9 inches of rain in Walker County. This is along I-45 and near Huntsville, even New Waverly, up to 7.8, 8.6, 7.8 in portions of northern Trinity County. But other than that, we are just continuing to see that rain. All of that rain that has fallen north of Houston has to go somewhere. It's going to be moving southward in terms of drainage in the streams and rivers across the area. So the East Fork of the San Jacinto River, definitely a concern. Even the Trinity River already in major flood stage from the rain that we received within the past 2 days. Now an additional amount of rain is going to cause major flooding around the Trinity River going into the next few hours. So as we look at this, what's happening right now, we're now starting to see this heavy rainfall now moving into North Houston. Even the northern beltway is dealing with this heavy rain right now. The flash flood warning does include the areas from the Intercontinental Airport, as well as Bush, even portions of along 249 Jersey Village dealing with the heavy rain right now. And unfortunately, like I said, there's a lot more rain behind this initial front of rain that is moving into Houston. So we still have all of this just behind those storms that is going to be progressing southward. As we look at our future track and what we're expecting to see, at least for the next several hours here across southeast Texas, it's looking more likely that our in-house weather model is coming into fruition of what we saw this morning. Just this big glob of rain moving southward as we go into the next 2 to 3 hours. So as we look at the future track, we're expecting this southward progression of storms to move into the city, and it could last likely into the early afternoon hours. Even around 4:30, we could be still looking at some heavy rainfall across the area as this disturbance is centered over North Texas. It's looking more likely that we're going to get a break in this rain activity from 6 to 7 p.m. and we're going to see ongoing some clearing and a break from this rainfall in the overnight hours. However, going into Friday morning, weather models are also hinting that another shortwave disturbance could bring some more showers and some possible isolated storms into the early hours of Friday. So something to really keep an eye on, as this area has already received torrential rain within the past 2 days, even within the past morning. So the National Weather is continuing this flood watch for much of southeast Texas. That's going to be at least until Friday afternoon, as as we're going to see that water, that rain that has been falling north of us. It's going to be moving down the San Jacinto River, even down the Trinity Rivers, and that's going to contribute to some major flooding in those locations. So looking at that flood watch that's in effect until Friday afternoon, we very well could see between 4 to 6 inches of rain where these slow moving storms have taken place, as well as an additional isolated areas between 8 inches of rain. We've already seen this for areas around in Walker County north of Houston going as we go into the next few hours. So right now that severe thunderstorm warning has been issued by the National Weather Service. That does include portions of northeast Houston, Humboldt, Atascocita, even along I-69 that we're seeing some 50 to 60 mile an hour winds, as well as some quarter-size hail with this storm that is moving through that area. So lots of rainfall currently at the moment, even with lots of lightning. It's really not recommended to travel north of, if you're traveling I-45 north, even along I-69, because there has been several reports of flooding ongoing along 59, even for in around the Woodlands, even Rayford Sawdust. I saw that report come in just a few minutes ago. So traveling not recommended north of Houston right now, as much of the area, much of I-45, the entire I-45 corridor, as well as I-69 underneath under that flash flood warning that is in effect until around 10 a.m. Thursday. And it's looking more likely that this is a considerable threat for flooding going into the next few hours. So continuing to see this continue across the area for at least the next few minutes, but we're now tracking that severe thunderstorm warning that's currently right now that is centered around just south of Eastgate, south to the northeast of Sheldon, and that is about to cross, so looking more likely to cross near Mont Bellevue, as we are seeing some inch-wide hail as well as 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts with this storm. But the primary threat that we're seeing right now with these storms is that flash flood warning that is in effect for much of Montgomery County, even Walker County, as we head into the next few hours. So the National Weather Service is issuing those flood warnings that will be in effect at least until later this afternoon. But we are expecting this rain just to continue. It's more of a southward progression going into the next maybe few hours. So lots of rain ongoing. We are not out of the woods yet for us here across the city of Houston. We are expecting this to continue at least for the next few hours, as well as continuing to deal with the lightning threat as this torrential rain is going to continue to fall. These are the same storms that brought all of the rain to Huntsville, even across the northern and around Trinity County. But that southward progression is really much of a concern as we head into this afternoon, especially as we've already dealt with 9 to 10 inches of rain in some of these locations. So something to really keep an eye on the weather forecast as we head into the next few hours across the area. And we're paying attention to those river flood gauges. I'm going to go ahead and look at see what's going on in terms of our live flood gauges. Right now, we're starting to see flooding possible. We saw a lot of green dots here. I don't know if you're able to see those on our picture. I'm going to go ahead and turn off radar so we can see exactly what's going on in terms of our river flood gauges, as well as those flood watches and warnings. So this will give you a better indication. So where you see the green dots, we're in good standing in terms of the live flood gauges. This is from the Harris County Flood Control District. But now we're starting to see those yellow dots, which is likely showing flooding possible around these locations, especially along near north of and around north of Lake Houston, even the fork, the San Jacinto River, the east and west fork of the San Jacinto River, as that rain is now moving into northern Harris County. So keep that in mind if you are having to travel today. Not really a good idea to be on those roadways, especially if you do see yourself underneath a flash flood warning. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and reiterate what's going on in terms of northern Harris County. Flash flood warning in effect for northern Harris County. That does include all of I-45 north of the city of Houston, and we are expecting that to continue at least until this rain subsides. And unfortunately, we have a lot of rain behind it moving southward as we go into later this afternoon. So lots of lightning. We very well could see more severe thunderstorms that are warned within the next 2 to 3 hours, but we are tracking an area of strong storms just to the northeast of the city of Houston. That does include portions of northeast Houston, as well as moving through near Mont Bellevue, even through Bear, where you're able to see that lightning. That's where the stronger activity of these storms that are taking place. But travel really not recommended north of Houston going into the next few hours, as we're already seeing some reports of flooded frontage roads, roadways, even along 45, I-59, and kind of showcasing what's going to be happening. This is going to continue at least for the next few, maybe hour, 2 to 3 hours across the area. So we are continuing to track the increasing flooding threat here across the Houston area as we go into later this morning. So something to keep an eye on, and you can always stay up to date on KHOU11.com as well as on the KHOU 11 app.